So this morning I've just got a bit of board down here and I've screwed everything down. Now this one's at an awkward angle because I need to get the seat joint in the bottom, so I'm just hoping that that strain put on here isn't going to affect it too much and break the fuse connection just in there, because there's quite a bit of strain coming around there now, and the fuses are the weak points, so that's already kind of weak just there. But what I may do is, once the seat's in, I could unscrew that, and then I could probably leave it unscrewed and then screw it down after the seat's in, and then the cable will hug the post instead. So I might do that, but we'll see. I'm just concerned that that's going to end up snapping if I'm not too careful. So I'm going to put a bit of board over the top there, and then the original carpet will sit on top, so you've got a bit of space for putting luggage and whatnot after all that wiring is done. Now I also just checked the voltage coming out of this socket on here, and it's still 13.4 volts, so it's perfect. That's running fine. So the DC to DC converters are both functioning well over 60 volts, and I reckon if they're working now they'll still be good till 66. So in the end I wired a feed coming straight off of this main terminal here through the gap here. You can see the blue wire running up, and that goes all the way around up to here. It's pretty spot on now with the voltage, but the main problem is whenever I turn the heater on, it pulls down the voltage quite a lot, down to 61.0. So I think the main problem is there's a bit of a drop in the voltage by using the connection up here, which isn't a huge problem. It means I'll never run down to zero under load, but over here, when I do test the voltage here compared to that wire, I get 61.45. It barely even touches the amperage coming off of these batteries. So I think it might be just a weakness in the wiring coming round, or that joint underneath the dash. But 0.4 volts isn't terrible. I mean, under load it's probably going to go down a lot more when I'm driving. Thinking about it, that's probably what's causing the huge voltage drop in my other car as well. And when you take your foot off the accelerator, it goes right back up. So I'm not sure how to fix that, because I've connected right up to here, and that wire going under the dash actually connects directly to this terminal over here, the positive. So these two wires are now both connected to the main terminals, but I am still getting a 0.4 drop over there when I use the blower. But on here there's no drop whatsoever, even if I measure from the negative over here onto the positive over here, there isn't any drop. So it may be to do with the voltmeter, who knows. But otherwise that works. It's not a huge problem, it's just under load it's going to go down 0.4, so when I get down towards zero, it's going to show me that I'm at zero before I even actually hit 0% on the battery. So that's not a bad thing, I suppose. It means I'll never run down to truly flat if I follow the gauge instead of the true voltage. Now it may not look like much, but I used some spare bits of aluminium to brace the seat here. Now what I realise is that, what I reckon is that these bars themselves, once screwed down into the floor, are strong enough to hold the seat in place. What I think these bars were for was that over time, if you're sitting back and you're sitting back into the seat and you're doing that a lot, you're putting a lot of strain on it, it could bend the seat backwards, so that it just basically moves it that way. So progress, the seats are all bolted down. As you can see underneath, there's just enough clearance for the batteries in regards to that brace that I made. So that's perfect. That brace will just keep the seats straight. Bolted down, they're quite solid, so that will just prevent them from moving backwards under weight or anything. And I've plugged in the heated seats, but I'm not quite sure what's going on with them. They turn on with the fan, but I cannot seem to get them to heat up. If I turn it to low or high, they do nothing. So I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to do. Ah, maybe I figured it out. They're actually on a thermostat. So hopefully that will start to heat up the seats. But they work. That's all plugged in. Now that I don't have the cover in though, I'm going to have to find a way to fix this down here so that it's in the place it was for operation. Unless I can find somewhere else to put it. But no, that's everything in. The seats are in. So in a moment I'm probably going to bring the car out and see how it drives in the field. It's not good. More water was gathering down here. I didn't realise it was. I'm not sure where it's actually coming in because we've been under a shelter. So that's really surprising. I found the leak. It's coming in through this here. This happened on my blue G-WIZ because this sill is literally just plastic and eventually it cracks in here. So what I'm going to need to do is to find something to seal all the way up here where it's cracked. It's cracked all the way up into there. So I'm going to need to put some kind of sealer all the way through there, and that should solve that leak. Okay, there we go. The car has pumped all the tyres up and I've just put a board down in there so it covers all the electronics, and I have a luggage space a bit higher up. Heated seats are all in. I have fixed it down here so that it's all functional. Just taking it out, I think there is some sticking on the brakes. It felt like it was a bit stiff. So I don't know if I have to do something about that or not, or if it will free itself normally with a bit of driving. Well, they're a bit stiff. I'm not used to this again because I'm used to the AC where it has natural regen and it slows down without doing anything, but it drives. I think I just need to look at the brakes a little bit. I think they'll be okay actually, just a bit of driving around, it might kind of free everything up a bit. But it's driving pretty well at 60 volts. Just work the brakes. I'm just testing the brakes to see which ones are sticking or whatever. But it did seem to skid to the side a bit then. Front brakes are fine. Yeah, it seems to be okay. See how well the back brakes are holding. Yeah, they're pretty solid. just noticed something not right. The speedometer doesn't seem to be doing anything at all. So it's either been disconnected behind the dash or there's something faulty somewhere. So I just hope I don't have to pull the whole dash out again just to sort this out. But I may just use the sat-nav instead. I don't know if it's legal that you have to have the speedometer working. But it's definitely not doing anything, unfortunately. Right, so I had a look underneath. It's such a tight space to crawl under there. And what I believe to be the tacho is quite loose behind there, so I don't know why it was removed before, but it seems to be removed. So I am going to have to get this dash off again, get behind there and see if I can do anything with it. Now, I'm really disliking this part because the dash doesn't fit properly in that corner, and it was a nightmare to get the holes lined up. So, but I have to do it, otherwise this isn't going to work, and especially for my insurance, because I have to take note of the mileage. So yeah, time to take it all apart again. I found the problem. There's the tacho. The problem that we face is that it's so short that you can't actually connect it to the down speedo when the dash is closed up. So I have no idea how I'm going to get this back onto the car. You just literally cannot reach in there to push it back onto the unit. So I'm a bit baffled here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in order to repair that. It's a bit of a conundrum. And now I was having a look behind here as well. I don't know if you can see, probably not. The mechanism behind for this thing, I thought I'd have a look at it while I was doing this, but I don't think I will be able to repair that part at all. It's too complicated for now. But I just do not know how I'm going to get that tacho back on at all. Right, I've managed to get in there, thankfully. So just giving it a quick test, and look, we seem to have the dash reconnected. So it seems to be working, thankfully. Whew. It was a job that was easier than I had expected it to be, now that I know how the dash comes apart. So let's just get this back up slowly, because nothing's completely in yet. And then we will actually, which way is straight? I think this is actually straight. I'll reset the steering wheel as well while I'm at it. But yeah, at least now we've got the speedo working. I still haven't managed to do anything about this, unfortunately, but everything else should be fine and ready to go back in. Whew, that was an easier job than I'd feared it might not be. Oh, however, oh no, please don't be lost. Shoot. Now that's one thing I didn't anticipate. I've lost the blimmin' things for the cigarette lighter. But yeah, I've just got to get that back through, and that should hopefully be everything. I managed to get the dash all back together. So what we should hopefully see is the speedo working now. So that's working really well. And I've got all the dash all plugged back in, so everything else is functional. So hopefully that's it. So that's just something to take into consideration when you pull the dash apart. Remember that the speedo, the tachometer lead, is liable to kind of come straight out when you pull the dash out. So because it's got quite short compared to the other wiring. With the other wiring, it just drops straight out, so it's not a problem. But at least now, I think the brakes are still scraping a bit, but no, as you see, it's working now. The miles are going up, so that's all done. That's all working now. couldn't get that fixed. I just don't know what's wrong with it. A part of the plastic broke off, so that's not going to get repaired unless I can take the whole dash off completely, which I'm not going to do. But at least I've got the main blower for demisting the windscreen, and of course I've got my heated seats now, so that should give me enough warmth, I would imagine. And the thing with the G-WIZ is just rapid warm in winter. That's what I had to do before, even wear gloves on while driving. But that's all working. We should be getting some warm air through. Yeah, that is warming up, so that's good. It's not taking too much out of the battery. I mean, it does knock, as I say, it does knock a bit off the voltage when you use that. Yeah, it knocks a few off the voltage, but not too much. So yes, the car is essentially ready to go. Now I'm not sure what's wrong with the indicators, all of them work, but unless the relay's on its way out because it's flashing faster, but all the lights are working. But yeah, so I managed to do the dash in a day. Now that I know how it all goes together, it didn't take too long to remove it and put it all back together. So I just had to take the radio out so I could bring the leads back up for this. But other than that, it was a relatively easy job. I was surprised how quickly I managed to get this done. So tomorrow I'm probably going to call the garage and see if we can get this booked in. So that's it for today. Good progress. Seats are in, batteries are all plugged in, charger's working. So the car's just as good, well, not as new, but it's fully functional now, and I think I can take it on the road. All I've got to do tomorrow is to get some sealant for fixing that crack that's on the sill of the door, and I think that's the only place where the leaks were coming in so far. So this is the G-WIZ, all running and all ready to go. So stay tuned and we'll see if it passes the MOT and I can get it on the road.